to another YouTube video. I'm Migue Paz. I'm here with Brandon Hernandez and Jonathan Mayer, two good friends of mine. So let's start with Brandon Hernandez. Introduce yourself, Brandon.
Well, if you don't know me, I'm a beat writer for Plug Talk Sports for college football. I also have an NBA podcast called the Courtside Podcast, which I go basically Monday and Friday with new episodes. And currently a student here at the University of Florida. But I was a former Panther, though. Can't forget that. Go Panthers. Paul up. But I'm just an overall fanatic for sports.
And an old friend of the YouTube channel, Jonathan.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Have you seen me before? Yeah, Jonathan Mayer. I'm a beat reporter for Panther Now, which is FIU's student run newspaper, and also, we also I call games on the student radio network, which you guys did. So having fun with that, and big FIU fan, big Miami sports fan. Excited to be here.
All right, so let's get started. And of course, if you guys don't know, for all my FIU fans, the FIU Spring Practice Showcase was this past Saturday, 6 p.m. at the Cage. And before we get into all of that, I was at FIU for 4 years. And of course, after every season, there's the hype about the team's going to do good. We're excited. But this year, Jonathan, we were there, and it's just a different vibe. The fans are happy. They're really into the team, the players, the coach, the AD. So talk about what happened there on Saturday.
Oh yeah, it was really really great to see a lot of people at the spring game. I knew that Scott Carr, the athletic director, wanted to make sure this was an event, and he wanted to really emphasize bringing alumni back. And the whole one side of the stadium was packed. People were there. People were loving it. A lot of fans and a lot of alumni. I mean, former FIU tight end Jonnu Smith, current Patriots tight end, he was there. Jonathan Cyprien, obviously, Devontae Price. A lot of guys, a lot of former players were there coming back to their old stomping grounds. And a lot of people were excited. I know Mike McIntyre talked about how fun it was kind of seeing a lot of more interaction. He even allowed fans to call plays from the stands. So people are having fun with that. But overall, I think a lot of good optimism. I think a lot of people are starting to see, hey, FIU can really build something. And I think we saw it on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon, we were at FIU for, I don't know, you were there for 2 years, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, all the sportsmen at FIU were always saying, "Oh, they're not trying. They're not trying to get the fans to come to the stadium, or they're not trying to build this football team." But I feel like this year, what I like is I don't know how this team is gonna do. Either they're gonna go win the conference or like last year. But what I like is they're trying. So, what's your thought about FIU this year?
Well, I mean,
or the previous year.
Well, Conference USA is obviously not a Power 5 conference. However, at the same time, I feel like it's a lot of great talent coming out of there. So, I mean, McIntyre, the head ball coach, he needs to make sure that, he gets his team ready to go. You got to get, used to the schedule. And what he's doing so far out of the gate is making a great fan base. I mean, he got great offensive coordinator hires. I mean, he brought in his son for wide receiver coach. So, it's going to be a family out there on the staff. But I mean, he's making a great atmosphere. I like where FIU is starting off, but at the same time, it's hard to even put down an expectation for this team coming into the season, though, because you just have no idea how this conference is going to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan, you were there the whole entire scrimmage. I got there a little bit late, but I'm looking at here some of the stats. Talk to us about what caught your eye there. I'm seeing here 25 touchdown yard pass by Hayden Clarkson and Chris Mitchell. Of course, Tyrese Chamber, long pass, 30-yard touchdown. What caught your eye Saturday?
Well, I think the big thing was the quarterback battle. Talking about Hayden Carlson, the sophomore or freshman. You got Grayson James, the sophomore, and Gunnar Holmberg, the Duke transfer. All of them you kind of expected maybe with Gunnar Holmberg, the transfer, will kind of be the guy. But in all honesty, I was kind of surprised. They were all kind of the same. No one really stood out to me. I think there were some good plays from Hayden Carlson. Talked about him, Chris Mitchell. So not really a whole lot quarterback wise. The receiver group, I mean, that's something. I think that's one of the bigger strengths. I think even running back, but strengths of this team. Talk about Tyrese Chambers, who comes back here from after looking at Power 5 opportunities. Dean Patterson, who was a former guy that had a chance to be a walk-on, went to D2, then comes back to FIU. He's been fantastic so far in spring. A lot of athleticism, and then on the defensive side of the ball, a lot of transfers, a lot of guys that have had experience at FIU. And I think another big thing to talk about is running back Sean Peterson Jr. He moved over from running back to linebacker, and it looked like he had a sack in that game. So I was impressed by Peterson. I was impressed by the receiving core. Quarterback battle, obviously, I think we can see what can happen in the fall. But overall, there were some good things to take away from spring practice on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon, we did a couple of football games last year for the radio broadcast. Of course, Tyrese Chambers is back. What can Tyrese like? You know, he's a special player, but what can he add to this team? Like, for the people that don't know Tyrese Chambers.
Well, for those that don't know Tyrese, they need to start getting used to the name. It's going to be really familiar in South Florida. I mean, Tyrese, he broke a couple of records, I believe, a single season for yards, which is held by, FIU great T.Y. Hilton. But, I mean, I expect him with Singleton being now to the draft that we're going to see, hopefully, Chambers going to do special teams more. I would love to see him add that to his resume. But, and especially because the quarterback scenario, as Jonathan said, it's very 50-50 right now. We still don't really have a guarantee of who's going to be the starting quarterback for that week one. But, I mean, I feel like if he can somewhat replicate what he had with Bornschlager last year, it's definitely going to be another great year for Tyrese. And possibly, not even that, maybe another elite wide receiver coming out of FIU, hopefully in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope so. Jonathan, you've been covering a lot FIU baseball. Talk about how's the season going and what's the future for the baseball team.
Yeah, I mean, baseball. So they started off really hot. They started off 6-0, and since then, that record has been opposite. They went on if I'm correct, it was a 13-game losing streak. Or sorry, it was not 13.
It wasn't good.
9 games around that time, but they were losing a lot of games, and then they kind of been in this spot where they haven't found their way back in a groove. Just recently they took 2 out of 3 against the Hilltoppers, but before that they lost 17-1 against the Miami Hurricanes, which I mean they did their top 2 in the nation, so you can say whatever you want about that. But yeah, just there has been a groove after that losing streak, and just offensively they had their moments, but pitching wise has been the inconsistency. We've seen times where they have not great control on the mound. They're giving up walks, they get hit by pitches, and you have to have good pitching. You have to have good offense, and that has not meshed well this season, and that's why FIU unfortunately is under 500, standing mid-season right now.
Yeah, Brandon, I think we did a few basketball games, and the FIU basketball team started out hot, 8-0, I believe, Johnson, or 9-0.
8-1, yeah.
8-1. It was the best record. It was the best record. So everyone was excited about the team, and then boom, it all started downfall after that when all the conference game began. But Coach Baller, I think it was a pretty good team. Not gonna lie, but something happened there. And are you excited about the basketball program here at FIU, Brandon?
I mean, how can you not? I think that college basketball is finally making its way to the 305, as we have to acknowledge Miami-Dade is a basketball county. I don't think there's we're talking about, it starts with the Heat, then it goes to the Canes, and their dominance of March Madness going to the Elite Eight, and now FIU, hopefully, I mean, who knows, maybe they might make the tournament. I mean, it's a little bit of a far stretch right now to say, but of course, with Ballard coming in as, I believe it was like, what is it, first few couple of years or whatever it is, whatever the number is of season he's at right now, it's a little bit too soon to say, especially with all these coaches getting a lifetime contract, especially in Kansas. But I think that basketball in FIU, it's going to keep on growing. We have a couple of guys that are coming in from, ridiculous high school talent careers, and then they're coming to FIU, getting rid of possible SEC offers or Big Ten offers. They're just coming to FIU because they know what's building in Miami. So I really have high hopes for not only the basketball part of the program at FIU, but as well as overall athletics for FIU in the future.
And of course, lastly, I'm not gonna leave this episode without talking about the soccer team at FIU. Man, that soccer team is good. I'm so happy that we knew Kyle Russell this year. That team next year is gonna make it deep in the tournament for sure. They play really good soccer. We saw it last year, and they made it to the tournament. And they got eliminated by Wake Forest. But them renewing Kyle Russell is a huge step for the program. So last thoughts about FIU, Johnson?
Oh, you mean the soccer?
No, I mean about like the program and the sport.
I thought, yeah. So I think looking at athletics, this is going to be a really, really good turning point for FI athletics. Talk about Scott Carr comes in. Mind you, he's been on the job since what? I would say December, early or late November, early December.
Yeah.
Look what he's done. Numerous times the coaches have been on media outlets. We've seen him get the community involved. He's wanting to make sure fans get what they want. And, he's already made a purpose and a voice. And I think that if you already had that down and we're not even, 6 months in, he is somebody I think is going to really, really turn this program around for the better. Talk about soccer, they're doing good things. Basketball, they're still on that rise, both women's and men's. And I do think football is going to be on an uptick. I do think that they're going to be very competitive in the next few years. So I think athletics as a whole is turning. I do believe facilities are going to be improved. So I think things are looking good in the world of FIU athletics.
All right. So we talk about FIU. Now let's talk about NBA playoff. Playing is about to start with the playoff. It's real basketball now. So Brandon, what's your thought about so far? Like the playoff, I have the chart right here, and so far for the East, it's gonna be Brooklyn against Cleveland for a play, and Atlanta against Charlotte. So who do you think is going to go in those two last spots? Who do you think is taking them?
I mean, it's hard, man. It's really hard because at the same time, you have to realize that Brooklyn is finally coming off a tear. I mean, midway through the season, they were struggling with Kevin Durant injuries and Kyrie Irving going back and forth with the state of New York, and they didn't have a bench. But I have to say, though, I mean, even though it's a little bit early of saying it, but the Harden and Ben Simmons trade, it looks like Brooklyn actually won that trade because they actually got themselves depth on the bench and more experience over there, bringing Goran Dragic off of a buyout, and then now mixing it in a little bit with Andre Drummond, which I think is a fantastic piece for that starting lineup. So I really do believe that Brooklyn will take that 7th spot. However, you still have to talk about Trae Young, who was leading in the NBA this season with points and assists, which was the last time he did it was in D1 college at Oklahoma. So he's the first player to do that ever in, I think, both college and the NBA. So, the Hornets are on a tear. Atlanta's hot right now. Cleveland is struggling.
I believe Jared. I don't know. I'm not sure if Jared Allen is going to be healthy by Thursday. So that's an important player for Cleveland if they want to go through. But Jonathan, we're a Heat fan, so it's kind of cold up here, First place. I mean, 3 weeks ago, it was a little bit. What's going on with this team? But man, talked about the team. They got to put some respect on the Miami Heat, to be honest.
Sure. I mean, I think it's like yesterday, Charles Barkley, he said, the Nets are going to beat the Heat, not sold on the Heat. I'm like, I mean, this team, first seed, they deserve it. They have got no media attention at all. ESPN, nobody, nothing. I believe that if you look at all the teams that they have a chance to beat, I don't think the Brooklyn, I'm a little skeptical about Brooklyn. They haven't had a great year, but I just don't think they can gel everything together when the playoffs hit. And then I think, you can beat a Cleveland. You can beat, I think, in Atlanta. They played well against Atlanta. You never know. But you look at the teams, all the teams that from 2 to 8, they have played very well against. So I believe that you can't say no about the Heat. This is a really, really solid team. And I think, you talked about what happened a couple weeks ago with the whole UD Jimmy thing. Yeah. I think that's maybe helped them for the better, kind of going through some growing pains and some chemistry issues. But I think it's a team that you really can't underestimate. I think it's a team that's going to make the finals this year.
I mean, I absolutely agree. Like, we were coming from the bubble fraud, back in 2020. But this year, this team has been pretty solid. If you're in first place in the NBA, it's because the team is pretty good. And that all around the East has been the best team so far. There's teams that have been playing pretty good basketball the last 3 months, 4 months, but this team has been playing really good basketball the whole season. And of course, you're Brandon, the fan of the team with the C. I don't even want to mention that team. But yeah, Brandon, talk to us about the Celtics a little bit.
Well, I mean, if you haven't heard, you should hear right now. The Celtics, second best record in the NBA since January. They were literally the only team in the Eastern Conference that didn't bench any of their starters on Sunday, which I thought was really spectacular to see because it just means that Jaylen Brown isn't afraid of anybody that they face. Tatum isn't afraid of anybody they face. I mean, Coach Adoko is not afraid of anybody they face. So if they do get Brooklyn, which I think they will, I really do believe that the Celtics have a great chance because of that confidence. But also, as you guys said before, the Miami Heat, you can't deny that. Coach Spo, best coach in the Eastern Conference right now. I just don't feel like either they face the Celtics or the Miami Heat. I don't think Brooklyn makes that. So, I mean, as I said before, I just do not feel confident that Brooklyn's going to make it out of the first round. I think the Miami Heat with Coach Spo, they know how to run that culture. They know how to run that defense very well. Plus, Tyler Hero on paper is having one of the better years that we've ever seen him have. And then, of course,
6-man.
Yeah, 6 men. You got to make sure we have to keep that track for the awards coming up. Be a great accolade for the young guy. But I mean, as I said before, I mean, both teams are right now hot. There's a reason why they're the first and second seed. That's because they're not afraid of anybody in the East. So
Absolutely.
definitely Miami is there to look after.
I'm really excited about one series. It's going to be Philly against Toronto.
Hmm.
I think that series can go Game 7 at least. And Philly had a problem. Matisse Thybulle is not going to travel to Toronto because he's unvaccinated. So that's going to be key for that series. Your thoughts about Philly Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I actually was, as a Celtic fan at least, the one thing I was worried about was the idea of having not only the Canadian rules of going back and forth with the COVID procedures, but also going against a Nick Nurse team offensively. That I would be afraid of. What I would love to see now is Nick Nurse's defensive mind going against a James Harden on the perimeter, who's been kind of 50-50 on these games. He's not going like a 30 per night type of thing anymore, as unfortunately as it is. He's not, H-Town James Harden anymore, He's kind of, I mean, I don't even know what he is right now. It's still James Harden, but it's not the
He's
same
a playmaker.
guy.
He's averaging over 10 assists per game. So
Yeah, 10 assists per game, but I mean, no Thibault, so you lose that defensive edge. Plus, I mean,
that's
Trae Young was, I think, getting for like 25 a game, 30 a game in the last stretch of the season, and then he has like a 13-point game when he goes to Toronto. So the thing that I find really interesting about that series would not only be the COVID situation that goes back and forth, but as well as that matchup between Nick Nurse and the offense of Doc Rivers and that Philadelphia team.
Yeah, Brett Johnson.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I gotta agree. This is gonna be really, really fun playoff matchups. But yeah, as you say, I'm kind of scared of Toronto. Like they have a solid starting five. Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes, Fred VanVleet. This is a team I'm worried about. And I think that you look at that Sixers matchup, and look, the Sixers are good. They have Joel Embiid and James Harden. But I think that in a 7-game series, I think it's gonna be really, really tough.
Yeah.
Sixers, and I think that the Raptors can beat them in 7. I think it's going to be going seven games, but Toronto's a team that you really got to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, I think Philly's going to go through, but it's going to be game 6 or game 7 because I'm taking Philly because of Joel Embiid, and we know Joel Embiid he can score and he's playing really good right now. So yeah, so they move to the Western Conference now here, which they have the best team the whole season, which is Phoenix. I mean, Monty Williams. What a job he was done, and James Jones as well. So he player. So we got to represent over there. So he was done an amazing job there in Phoenix. So talk about the Western Conference, Brandon.
Well, the Western Conference, I think it doesn't have as much even competition as the East does right now, especially for the first round. But it still has something really interesting, though. Of course, we still have to wait for the play-in, but I'm really hoping to see Minnesota take on the Memphis Grizzlies just because I just want to see the John Morant versus Patrick Beverley. And not even that. I mean, imagine this: Chris Paul versus Patrick Beverley in the playoffs. Last time they faced off, Western Conference Finals. I mean, Patrick Beverley got like a piece of like Chris Paul's spine pushing him away and getting ejected, which I would love to see that trash talk. But the one thing I'm really interested about in the West was actually because of Sunday, due to the Warriors winning over the New Orleans Pelicans, they actually clinched that 3rd seed, which means the Mavericks will go against a high efficient offense in the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
That one will probably be not only the most entertaining series out there in the West, but definitely a Game 7 guaranteed.
That Dallas Utah game is series is gonna be good. But we also got Golden State against Denver. I mean, we know Golden State. Steph Curry is there and he's 100% healthy. Golden State can go through, but the way Golden State have been playing lately, well, obviously without Steph Curry, but I don't know if Jamal Murray is going to come back this year for the playoff or not. But Denver with Jokic, that's a dangerous team to face.
That's a really, really good. I mean, Jokic this year. I think he was the first player to have I forgot what was it, points, assists, and rebounds.
Yeah, rebounds. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's been on another level this year, especially he's kind of been the only guy there. But this Warriors team, I know people talk about their struggles, but look, if Steph Curry's healthy and you have Jordan Poole, who's like a mini Steph Curry. Like this
He's
is a
playing.
yeah, great shooting team. And then I know Klay Thompson. He's still on the ramp up, but he's had some good games. But I think that's an underrated series in the standpoint that yeah, the Warriors, if you look at by their roster, they can easily win in 5 against the Nuggets. But you never know. Jokic has been really huge for this Nuggets team, and I think they can take 2 or 3 games and try to kind of make it a little interesting the first round.
So I have Phoenix coming out of the West. I don't know about you guys. Who you guys have?
Well, I mean, I would definitely choose Phoenix right now. I mean, I can't imagine another team going out there. But then again, if Memphis does make it to the Western Conference Finals, because they had a great record this year over Phoenix in the regular season, so it's a possibility, man. I mean, John Morant, he's really put around that group of young guys, and Jared Jackson Jr. is obviously a good big to have in your front court, but I don't know. I still think that Phoenix would win in a 7-game series, but the same question still stands, such as last year for Chris Paul. Could he make it all the way with his age that deep in the playoffs again, 2 years in a row? So
But, I think talking about Phoenix, I just want to talk about one player, which is Devin Booker. Before, we were not talking about him because the team was losing. I feel this year we haven't talked about him that much, and he's putting up numbers. He should be top 4 in the MVP talks, in my opinion. He had a year, to be honest.
I would agree. I mean, he's been really good, but I mean, kind of going off of what you said about the Phoenix Suns, I don't know. I feel like they have a chance. The big thing that I really took away from this Suns team is everyone returned. Like, it's the same starting 5. It's the same bench. Like, you have the same guys. You already have that chemistry that you built in last year going to the finals. Like, everything's molded together. So I believe that if you already have what you built last year, I think this is a team that can definitely beat the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are young. They maybe can't go through a 7 or 6 game series, but I think it's the Suns team. They're built to win the Western Conference and a final series. I mean, against the Heat, I want the Heat to win, but this is the Suns team that I think people, I would say, want to watch instead of. I mean, obviously the Grizzlies are everyone's favorite team, but the Suns are a team that I feel like deserve to get a ring, especially with Chris Paul, who does yet to have a ring in his career.
Yeah, just to close the NBA segment, MVP for his year. Who do you think?
I mean,
That's tough, right?
I mean, I think John Morant, he deserves it, but he's been a little bit injured. Trae Young, he's had a great year. There's a lot of guys in consideration. I mean, I think I'll take Trae Young. I mean, when he's done with this turnaround for the Hawks.
I mean, for me, it's 3. It was just Giannis, Nikola Jokic, and Embiid.
I forgot Jokic. I'll take Jokic.
But I'll take Jokic as well.
I'll take Jokic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I gotta tell you right now, man, a sleeper right now in that, because obviously it's all about the journey as well, not just the record. Jason Tatum's a top 3. I hate to tell you guys, but Tatum is a top 3. Him, Embiid, and Jokic should be a top 3. I'm sorry, man, but guys are playing out of his mind right now.
Jason Tatum is a baller. I have to admit though. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all for the NBA segment. So let's move to our beloved Brandon, Inter Miami. Finally got their first win Saturday against the New England Revolution. Man, it feels good to win, huh?
Feels too good to have those 3 points finally on the board for us, man. I mean, we've been on the bottom for a while. Hopefully it's a change, but our schedule, it's been probably the most tormenting schedule to have in the beginning of the year, though.
We're facing Seattle next Sunday.
Yeah, and that's in Seattle, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, in Seattle, yeah.
I mean, the atmosphere is probably the hardest to play in MLS. I mean, that's going to be something that – and, I mean, I don't know, because now with the team without Higuain, we're actually more team-oriented right now, so I'm hoping that does more. But, I mean, do you think that Phil Neville might change up the matchups right now going into that next game?
I mean, it's tough. Higuain supposedly had an injury. That's why he didn't play last game. But, I understand what people are saying. Oh, don't start Higuain again. But, I'm kind of in Higuain's side. He's 33, I believe, or 34. Mm-hmm. And, for a striker that old, most of the time they just move forward to to the center, like the striker position. But Higuain is playing as a number 10, so he's playing as a false 9, or he's moving around the whole midfield. I feel that's tough for Higuain, a player who's 33 years old. I actually, in my last video, go check it out, I talk about Inter Miami. He said when Higuain has the ball in the midfield and he open up to Lassiter or Robbie or whoever's playing on the wing, Iwanildo was the last player to arrive to the box. Why? Because he's slow right now. So we saw with Campana, he was playing the whole time. He was playing at the striker position. He was inside the box. So this team proved that if they have a striker in the box, they can score.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. Plus, of course, with Robbie, I mean, they have Robinson always going back and forth now. I mean, even as Inter fans and people who watch South Floridian sports all the time, it's so hard to even put a pin on it of where Robbie Robinson is for this franchise. You know, I mean, because I think Miguel, you said earlier in the podcast or before the podcast even started that you had a conference and you asked about Robbie.
Yeah. I asked Phil Neville about Robbie and how key he was for the team, and he basically didn't want to talk about Robbie that much. And he's like, "Oh, Robbie Robinson is a key player," but I know Robbie Robinson played the best match, like throughout his Inter Miami career. Last game against the Young Revolution, the way he opened up the field for Inter Miami, and the way he makes those forward runs the whole entire game. You know, he was coming back and forth. I mean, the kid is 21 or 22, I think. So he's young. He should be able to do the whole game, but. I mean, Robert Young had a tough career so far in the MLS. He's been in and out of the starting rotation. A lot of injuries so far for the kid, but I hope he really stays 100% healthy because he's a player to watch. And I think Robert Robinson is going to be the first player for Inter Miami to jump to Europe, in my opinion. He has the potential to do that.
That is true though, but it'll be interesting if I mean, what do you think? Like maybe like a Premier League or a German league or?
I mean, I would like not a top Premier League team, but in my opinion, if you're coming from the MLS, you should go to the Netherlands or a German league team, you know, or a French team, you know, one of those divisions, so you can get your opportunity. So we were talking about Jonathan that Inter Miami is going to face Miami FC in FIU football stadium. I believe it's going to be the 19th or the 21st. There's no set date for that, but I was telling him that day the stadium is going to be packed. I was telling Jonathan he should go to that game to go watch. I think it's your first soccer match, right, Jonathan? You have never seen it.
Well, no, I have been to obviously the FIU Wake Forest game, but I guess my first professional. Yeah, and I mean, you never know. I mean, I guess you got Inter Miami FC at FIU Stadium. It holds what 20,000 people at FIU. So
I think so. Yeah.
You think it's gonna be like to the brim?
I was telling him that it's gonna be packed. It's funny because this is gonna be the first time Inter Miami plays in Miami, and they're gonna be playing away.
Yeah.
So I find it like it's crazy though, but that has been Inter Miami since they were born. You know, nothing is coming out right for them. But let's hope Inter Miami can go on a good run right now and like get some wins. Now we can talk about the sport that Johnson likes, which is baseball. How about the Marlins? They got to win, so they're not going winless this season. So that's good already.
Oh yeah, I would say that they're a pesky team. Like you look at their lineup where they added Jacob Stallings, the catcher, who had a great game. Avisail Garcia, Jorge Soler. Like these are guys that can hit the ball, and this is a team that I know that it's going to be competent. They're going to be a team that you're not going to score 8 runs off of, but at the same time you're not going to give up over 5 runs against this team. I think that they're going to get hits, but I just don't think that they're going to give you that edge that we've seen in other teams like Blue Jays or the Yankees, teams that are high octane offenses. But the pitching's good. Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, Trevor Rogers. That's a heck of a starting 3. Even Eliezer, Jesus Luzardo. The bullpen has looked good. But yeah, I think this is an 80-win team. And what I took out of these first 3 games was it was decent. And this next series against the Angels, which Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, but hey, you never know. But yeah, this is an 81 team, and they're a fun team to watch. But the lineup, bottom 1 through 9, I think it's actually the first time it's actually like interesting to watch. You got guys that are going to hit the ball. Jazz Chisholm's at the 9th spot. Like this is a good lineup. And then pitching wise, you got 1 through 5, Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, Trevor Rogers. I mean, these are good stuff pitchers, and I do think that throughout a whole 162 game season, this team is going to beat a lot of close games. And I just think they're 80-win team, maybe 85-win team. I think that they can make some noise. Hopefully, they can make some noise heading into September.
I mean, I'm just worried about the bullpen from the Marlins. I feel like that's their weakest spot. Yeah. I feel like the bullpen is going to cost them a lot of games this year. But
they already did.
Yeah, correct. Do you like the incorporation of Jorge Soler?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he made a great catch yesterday. I think he had 3 hits, 2 or 3 hits on Sunday's finale against the Giants. But yeah, good power bat. I think a lot of fans like him just because, he's from Cuba. He lives here in the offseason. He has family here. So I think maybe some fan favorite. But yeah, if he can hit bombs out of Lone Depot Park, he can definitely be a fun guy to watch this season.
Who do you prefer, though, Tati Castellano or Soler? There's a lot of rumors about Tati Castellano. No, not Nick Castellanos, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm talking about the MLS player. That's what they call him, Tati Castellanos, Nick Castellanos. So yeah, there were a lot of rumors about him coming to Miami, but at the end of the day, it didn't happen. So you're happy with Jorge Soler?
Yeah. I mean, this is just a weird offseason because they had a center field. They had no center fielder, and you thought we could Brian Reynolds from the Pirates, but the Marlins didn't want to trade any of their prospects away. But Castellanos, he's good. He's a good bat, but I think Soler he can do the same job. I think he has better defense than Castellanos. That's a plus, but a little bit difficult. But it's all about money, and Marlins they don't like to give a lot of money to the free agents.
I mean, the owner, spring training, said he was ready to spend some money. Brandon, do you believe her? Or you think it's going to be the same story every year for the Marlins?
I don't know. As long as they don't repeat a Jeter era, that's all I care about. As long as the Marlins just stick to the game plan, just actually bring in guys to South Florida, that's all that matters. Because the whole, work through the farm system, I mean, I'm not saying it never works, but in Miami's case, it wasn't going to work. What was the best guy out of the Brinson area that came out from the farm? Like Brinson, you know what I mean? So I'm telling you right now, the Marlins right now, great off season, and I'm expecting a great season in general for them coming away from October.
Yeah, I mean, and to close out this segment, we all met through a class in FIU, which started last semester, which was media broadcasting. What was the class called? MMC 3292?
3932.
3932 was the great AJ Ricketts. I mean, great person there, AJ. So if you're a FIU student, you like sports, you should take that class. It's super fun. Jonathan is in it right now. Brandon and I we were in it like last semester, and it was so much fun. Like, right, guys, like we go to the stadium, we call games, we do videos for Twitter. It's probably the best class I took at FIU.
No, yeah. I mean, for me personally, I really do believe in that program too. Because I even remember my freshman year, like spring 2020. As we said before, AJ, who's teaching that class and also does play-by-play for FIU. I mean, I literally had a DM on Twitter to see if there was like a program or something like that for sports broadcasters or those people that want to go into sports journalists that do play-by-play live broadcast. And that's grown into what is now, thanks to AJ and what he does with the university, into a class which gives this outlet for students to not only practice on play-by-play but also on intros, on game filler, and just actually teaching sports journalism at FIU, which I believe should be something that's huge in South Florida, because South Florida is a sports town. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
So definitely look after that. If you're not doing anything in the summer, look after it in the fall. MMC 3932, great class, great guy teaching it, and don't forget to say hi to Jonathan for me the next time.
Of course, yeah, I love that class. I'm doing it right now, actually, just finishing up, but it's fun. Yeah, you got to help basketball, baseball, football games. I forgot we called a lot of games, and hopefully, I know he's teaching this class in the fall, but I won't be able to do it. But hopefully, I can call more games with the little radio thing that we got going on next year.
Brandon, what was your best? What do you think was the best game we called last year?
Who that we called?
Or you called, like?
Oh, that I called. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the best I've called, I would have to say it was probably FIU versus Texas State in football, because that game went down to the wire. And out of all the games that we had last season, that was probably the one game that I thought that we were going to win that one. It looked too good to be true, but kind of shoot ourselves in the foot in that game. But it was so exciting, calling an overtime matchup, close game, FIU quarterback, Max Borchardt in the shotgun the entire time. And seeing Devontae Price, I mean, hey,
can't we just fun was that game, man? Come on.
Like, I know, man. I know. But still, it's such a fantastic game to call that one. So, I mean, I've been blessed to call many different sports, but football, it's got to be at the top.
To be honest, I did the game with you, and that was my first ever game broadcasting. No, we did the volleyball game first.
Oh
That was
yeah,
my first football game broadcasting, and yeah, going to overtime. Devonta Price 2 fumbles was not something not used to him. But yeah, that was a fun game. Jonathan, how about you?
Ooh, I mean, I unfortunately, well, the football game we got to call my first one. That was the one. It was North Texas raining and pouring. Remember that? That was like a
That was horrible. That
that
was the
was
worst
I
game.
had
Yeah,
no idea when we got into that one.
we lost by 40 something points. It was
Yeah,
raining.
that was
My computer
that
was
was a
all wet.
yeah.
Uh,
I saved your computer in that one, but yeah,
yeah,
a lot of basketball games were really fun. Remember, we had a lot of good games.
yeah.
Let me see. I guess
I feel like that eight. We did the record for the FIU
I think
basketball.
yeah, that was good.
That was yeah.
I think one I can hit on was Louisiana Tech versus FIU. It was like in February. Louisiana Tech was like one of the best teams in conference. It was a packed house at the Ocean Bank Convocation Center. They lost by 4, but like it was down to the wire, and just you can feel like the good energy, and I think that's what you want from a broadcast. Is everyone's into it, and I think we got it. They lost, but it was great energy from the whole arena that night.
Well, and to close this out, of course, we all here are planning to become broadcasters in the future. So I'm gonna ask Brandon, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster.
my favorite play-by-play. That's a hard one. Because I'm such a huge like football broadcaster guy, but at the same time, Mike Breen with the New York Knicks and also sometimes ESPN. You can't forget the iconic Bang. But
Man,
I have to say, man, I mean, Chris Fowler,
first follow.
definitely my favorite. I love watching him on college football. I love watching those, playoffs. I love those Sunday nights, Saturday nights that he did recently for the ending of like the college season as well as for the football, where he went back and forth for that Denver and Chiefs game for the last game of the season of the NFL this year. But before that, I think he played or called. I believe it wasn't one of the playoff games; it was a bowl game. But just his type of regimen going back and forth, also doing tennis sometimes on the side for the U.S. Open. I mean, he's the reason why I stay up late at night for some of his games that he calls over there for the Australian Open too. So I mean, he's one of a kind,
I
definitely one
mean,
of a kind.
him and Kirk Herbstreit on college football is just
No, yeah, exactly.
perfect
And
duo.
Kurt,
Yeah, I
and
mean
Kurt
Johnson.
is, oof.
Yeah, Johnson.
Ooh, I'm gonna go with the right answer. The right answer only is AJ Ricketts. He's the goat.
He wants to get an A this semester. That's why he said.
Yeah, I want that A. No, but he's great. But from a professional sports standpoint, I think I'm a big Marlins fan, so on the radio, I love listening to baseball on the radio. I'm gonna go Glenn Geffner and Kyle Sielaff too, but I've listened to them for over a decade now. I was a kid, now going to my adult years, but he's great to listen to. I think gotta go Eric Reed. I mean, he's the voice of the Heat. I love how he just calls games on TV. I'll even go Kevin Harlan. I love Kevin
Yeah,
Harlan. I just love his energy. Like he's always excited no matter what, and his voice is like a perfect broadcaster voice. But yeah, Kevin Harlan. Let me go one more. I'll go Gus Johnson of Fox. That guy's
Gus Johnson,
insane.
man, yes, he puts so much. Like his energy is just crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think you guys don't know this because he's an Argentinian play-by-play broadcaster, which his name is Mariano Clos, and that's like my inspiration in soccer to become a play-by-play broadcaster. But if I have to go someone as Al Michaels, I think Al Michaels is one of my all-time favorite play-by-play broadcaster. He's so smooth, like he knows the business from top to bottom. Yeah, from bottom to top, and yeah, he's an amazing player. He's an amazing play-by-play broadcaster. Well, yeah, guys, this is all Brandon Hernandez, Jonathan Mayer, and your host, Migue Paz. It's been a pleasure.